Hello and welcome back to the Exceleration Netcast. In today's episode, we are going to be taking this data right here. We've got sales aggregated at the day level, and we're going to be adding a percentage of total column. This is, again, something that may be better done in Power Pivot, but if you're already working in PowerQuery, sometimes it's better to stick with a single solution. So let's go ahead and get started. Close out the data. We're going to head over to PowerQuery. We're going to get our data from an Excel file, because that's where it is. And we want to make sure we're in 31. So here's our data. Click OK. And it is indeed in Sheet 1, so we're going to edit it. All right, the first thing we're going to do, as per usual, is we're going to go up here to the corner of the table, right-click. We're going to get our context pop-up, and we're going to use first row as headers. Okay, so now this is actually a good starting point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head into the advanced editor, and I'm going to add an additional step here that is just going to be this exact same table, but I'm just going to call it something else. Start. In fact, I'm not going to call it something else. I'm just going to point to it. This is just a reference to that table above, just because start is a lot easier to write and read than first row as header. Okay, so let's head down here, just so you can see what I did. Done. So we've got use first row as header and start, and they're the same table. Start's just easier to read and write. Okay, so our next step is we need to get the grand total. So for each column, we're going to want the percentage of grand total. So to start off with, we'll find the grand total. Grand total. So we're going to define a variable called v grand total for value grand total. And what is it? Well, we're going to sum up the sales column. The sales column, when we extract it, it's going to get turned into a list. So this is going to be a list operation, and it's list.sum. We're going to sum up a list. Well, what list are we going to sum up? Well, go to the start table and get the sales column. Okay. So, view grand total is going to get the sales column and sum it all up to get the grand total. Grand total. Done. Okay, 14,309. That sounds right to me. So let's head back here because it's easier to look at. All right, so now that we've got the grand total, we're most of the way there. Again, this is a pretty easy episode today. What we want to do now is we want to add a column that divides each sale row by the grand total. So what we're going to do, we're going to define this as add PCT total, so add percentage of total. Okay, we're going to do the table.add column function. We're going to add a column to a table. Well, which table are we going to add it to? Well, we're not going to add it to v grand total because that's not a table, that's just a value. We're going to add it to the start table. Start table. We're going to add it to this table right here. Okay, so the first argument is what table to work on. Second argument is, what do you want to call this new table? We're going to call this PCT of total sales, I guess. Whatever you want to call it is just fine. And the more important part is the calculation, third argument. So, for each row, what I want you to do is take the sales, and I want you to divide it by the value for the grand total. It is as easy as that. Okay, so now we're going to close out our add column function call, and we're going to point to the add percentage total table. It's all done. And now we've got our new percentage of total sales. So you might be thinking to yourself, oh, well, this isn't a percentage. I want to turn this into a percent. So you right-click on here and say change type, and you don't see percentage. And that's just the way that it is, because this is not a formatting option. This is not just sort of how the number is displayed. This is actually how the number is stored internally. So to show it as a percentage, we're going to have to bring it back into Excel, and from there we could change the formatting. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go to Home. I'm going to close and load. Closed and loaded the data. And now I'm going to go up here until I get this little downward facing arrow. Click one time, hold down Control and Shift, and hit the percentage sign, or 5. And so I get a percent. If I want to, I can come up here and maybe increase the number of decimal points. So I get 3. I think 3 always looks pretty good. And we're good. All right, well, I hope that was helpful, and I will see you next video.